Hello, everyone. This is a dedicated session for the students of Cost and Management Accountants of India Intermediate. And we are covering the subject Operations Management and Strategic Management at intermediate level. This is Chapter 4, Production Planning and Control. And this is the fourth session, I believe, in transportation. So far, we have seen the initial allocation using Northwest Corner Rule, Least Cost Method, and Vogel's Approximation Method. So now we are going to use Vogel's approximation method for further solving this problem. So we arrived at the say basic solution earlier. Which is here. To balance the demand and supply, we created a dummy market. And there are three sources, so factories 1, 2, and 3, and 3 destination markets, M1, M2, M3, and the dummy market. We have the allocations here. Now there are 2 stages after this. One is feasibility test. We have to find out whether this solution is feasible or not. For that, the condition is number of rows plus number of columns minus 1 is equal to number of allocations. If this is satisfied, then the solution is feasible. Or in short, it's called M plus N minus 1. So we have number of rows 3 plus number of columns 4 minus 1 on one side. Number of allocations, counting it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 6 allocations here, which matches. Now both these sides are equal. I'll write it here so I can draw the symbol equal to here. So since both sides are equal, we are good. So M plus N minus 1 is equal to number of allocations. So what we had earlier was initial solution. Is feasible. So whatever we had as initial solution is feasible. So this is the feasibility test. What if it's not feasible? If M plus N minus 1 is not equal to allocations, then it is called degeneracy. Remember this term, degeneracy, where number of allocations is not equal to M plus N minus 1, or is normally, instead of saying not equal to, we can say less than or is more than the number of allocations. So you will not have 6 allocations, you will end up with 5 allocations in this case. Then it's called a degeneracy. When you have degeneracy, you cannot solve the problem further. You have to introduce a very meager quantity into the solution, initial solution, to proceed further. So that meager quantity, very small quantity, E, to be inserted. Where should I insert? At the least cost cell, least cost, instead of just calling it cell, unallocated cell. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 unallocated cells. or 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 unallocated cells. In these 6 unallocated cells, we have to find the least cost. So least cost is 0. So you have to insert E in either of these two cells, either here or here, not in both cases. Only one place you have to insert. But in this problem, we don't have that situation because we have 6 allocations. If m plus n minus 1 is not equal to number of allocations, only then you have to introduce this arbitrary or imaginary volume in one of the cells with the least cost to proceed to the next step in the problem. So this is called degeneracy. Remember, it's a very important theory topic. It may come for 1 or 2 marks. Please do read it. Now, this problem is feasible, so we don't have a problem here. We can proceed further to optimization. Optimization. So in that, first, we have to start with assigning names for all these cells in the matrix. So instead of factories, let's call it U1. Rows are named as U2 and U3. And then columns are named V1, V2, V3, and V4. We're giving generic names to the rows and columns. You can have factories, you can have markets, and you can have customers, you can have warehouses, whatever is there at the program. We'll just give common names of U and V's. So this particular cell, each cell is now given address. So this cell address is U1, V1. This cell address is U2, V2. Oh, sorry, U1, V2. If you come down here, this cell address is U3, V3. So this is how you assign address to all the cells. I have not done it for all, but remember. So if you ask this cell, it is U2 and V3. It's in the junction of those two, so it's called U2, V3. Now let's take all allocated cells. So we have allocations in U1, V3, U1, V4, U2, V1, U2, V2, U3, V2, U3, V3. So you have to carefully note down these. And instead of writing it down as a cell address, you just add a plus symbol in between these. And to make it further clear, so we have 6 allocated cells, and the values or costs, associated costs. U1, V1 is 8 rupees per ton. U2 7 per unit. Sorry, U1, V1 is 6 per unit. U1, V3 is 6 per unit. U1, V4 is 0 per unit. U2, V1 is 5. Next is 4. The next allocated cell, 240 units, 5. U3, V3 is 5 again. So these are the values based on allocated cells. and we have the associated costs. So based on the allocated sales cost, we have to first find out all U's and V's. U1, U2, U3, V1, V2, V3, V4. These are the 7 variables here, or 7 items used, and we have to find out the values of these 7 items. So we have to start somewhere. Say we have these equations. Let's convert these into equations. So when you are writing it, you write it this way. For different allocated cells, the associated costs, and convert these into equations. So U1 plus V3 is equal to 6, U1 plus V4 is equal to 0, and so on and so forth. So this is how you convert it into equations and find the values of U's and V's. See, when you have so many variables and associated say equations and values, how to start finding the solution? So let's start with if U1 is equal to 0. So if U1 is equal to 0, what is the value of the rest of the items? So if U1 is equal to 0. Okay. So what is U2? So if U1 is equal to 0, what are the values of U2, U3, V1, V2, V3, and V4? So how to find out? If U1 is equal to 0, going to the first equation, if U1 is 0, what should be the value of V3? 0 plus 6 will be 6. So V3 should be given the value 6. Again, alignment. V3 will be 6. Similarly, U1 is 0, V4 will also be 0, because we have U1, V4 is equal to 0. If we assume U1 is 0, then V3 will be 6 and V4 will be 0. Now, since we have V3 and V4 value, we can use it in just this equation. There is only one more V3. So U3 plus V3 is equal to 5. So we know V3 is 6. So minus 1 plus 6 will be 5. So U3 is going to be minus 1. Now let's unbold this. With U3 is equal to minus 1, I can find V2. So if U3 is minus 1, V2 will be equal to 6, because minus 1 plus 6 is equal to 5. U3, we know that it's minus 1. So if we use minus 1 here, V2 will be equal to 6 again. Now, since we know V2, we can find out U2. So since V2 is equal to 6 and U2 and V2 is equal to 4, which means U2 must be minus 2. So minus 2. To make it clear, I'm just ignoring the error shown here. Okay. So U2 is found to be minus 2 and U2 and V1 is 5. So minus 2 plus 7 will be equal to 5. So V1 is equal to 7. So these are the values of U's and V's if we start with U1 is equal to 0. So what we have done, just repeating, we have converted all this into equations, allocated cells into equation based on the generic cell address, and started with U1 is equal to 0 and found out the rest of the values. Once we have done this, we go to the unallocated cells. And the associated formula. So unallocated cells again, write it down. U1 plus V1, U1 plus V2, U2 plus V3, U2 plus V4, U3 plus V1, U3 plus V4. So these are the unallocated cells. Zij. We're going to find out Zij. So for the unallocated cells, Zij will be, just use the values you have calculated in the formula here. So Zij will be equal to U1, for the sake of it, I'll write down the numbers, 0 plus 7. Which is equal to 7. So this is Zij for you. Sorry for spending time in formatting these, because it will make it easy for us. Okay, so U1, V1 is equal to 0 plus 7 is equal to 7. U1, V2 is equal to 0 plus 6, which is equal to 6. U2 is minus 2. So minus 2 plus V3 is 6, which is 4. Again minus 2 plus V4 is 0. So it will be minus 2. Try to avoid the formula error, but it still shows an error. In a while, I'll tell you what this Zij is. And then U3 is again minus 1. And then V1 is 7. So the value is 6. Then U3 is minus 1 and V4 is 0. So minus 1. And I'll ignore this error. So now we have the values of Zij, or ideal cost for these cells. So what should be the ideal cost for the unallocated cells? So I'm not going too much in depth into explaining all this, the rationale and all this. Just understand how the optimality test is done. because this is for the restricted purpose of ICMI students, cost accountant students of SARC. So please, if you want more details, you can always get into YouTube or advanced statistical material, operations research material, and find out. If in the interest of time, I'm proceeding further. So Zij or ideal cost 764 minus 26 and minus 1, and then the actual cost. What are the actual costs we have? Actual cost for U1 B1 is 8, and then U1 B2 is 7, 9, 0, 7 and 0. So the next is finding out the difference. So actual cost or Cij. So we have Zij, Cij, and then let me insert a shape. I'm just trying to find out the triangle shape here. I think it's trying to convert this into a triangle, and I removed it anyway. We used to have shapes here. Have charts, pivots, 3Ds. So we need to insert a triangle symbol to show delta, del ij. So a simple triangle. I'm trying to find a triangle. Here it is. It's a Greek alphabet delta. Del ij. So we have Cij, Zij, and then del ij. So del ij, difference between your ideal cost and actual cost. And we have to find out whether there are any negatives. So del ij is equal to Cij minus Zij. The difference, delta is nothing but difference. Difference between your actual cost and ideal cost. So actual cost is 8, whereas the ideal cost is only 7. So it's 1 rupee more than the actual cost. So it's not worth allocating any further units in that cell. So we'll do this for all. And we see that there are no negative cells, which means if I allocate, say I take the cell U2V3, U2V3 for now is empty. And if I allocate some more units into this, the impact would be you will increase the total cost by 5 rupee per unit. for every unit I allocate into this cell, my overall cost will go up by 5. That's what this del ij is signifying. So del ij says that if I allocate into this cell where the ideal cost is only 4, but the actual cost is 9, I'll incur 5 rupee more per unit. So it's not worth allocating any units into that cell, which is from factory 2 to market 3. Similarly, we have it for all other routes. Everywhere it is additional costs if we choose to allocate in those routes. So our initial solution is feasible, and since there are no negatives here, is optimal. So my initial solution itself is optimal. So that is the conclusion in this problem. So what have we done? We have found out, taken allocated cells, converted those into equations, and used their costs as the values. And if u1 is equal to 0, we started with that. So I guess I've cut and paste this. So we started with u1 is equal to 0 and found out the values of different variables u1, u2, u3, v1, v2, v3, v4. And once we have found out the values of u's and v's, we have used that in the unallocated cells. Again, as an equation, we found out what is the ideal cost at Zij and compared it with the actual cost, which is termed as Cij. Ij refers to row and column reference. So Cij, 8 means C1, 1. C1 and row 1, column 1 is the Ij. So 8, and the difference is your ideal cost is less, whereas your actual cost is more by 1 rupee. So it's not worth allocating any further units into that cell. So that's what we found out. And since there are no negatives here, which if it's a negative means there is an opportunity. Suppose this is -1. It's not -1. Suppose this result was -1, which means if I allocate more units here, for every unit I allocate, there will be a saving of 1 rupee. It's not the case now, and I have not allocated anything here. So to use that opportunity, -1, I need to allocate here. So how do I allocate? I need to take quantities from different already allocated rows and columns and put it into this route. That's called looping, the function of looping. I'm not going to cover looping in detail, but I'll just tell you how it is done. Say, suppose I need to add, say, 50 units here. So I need to do 50 units here. What will happen? My row demands and column demands are already defined. So we did this in the previous problem, in the previous session. So my total demand for this market is only 300. So if you take a look at it, so I'll zoom in a bit more for explanation. So if you take a look at it, you have 50 units here, but the total demand is only 300. So I need to reduce that 50 units here. So this becomes 250. So if I reduce 250 here, let's reduce it here. Also, this 50 adding here would mean I need to reduce it here or here, because see what I'm doing is I'm trying to balance or keep the demand and supply intact. The total demand and total supply should not match, or should always remain the same. Or row level total demand, total supply, all those must not change because those are fixed. So if I add 50 units here, I need to reduce it somewhere else in this market or in this factory because the total supply available is only limited. So let's reduce it here. And then if since I added here, I also reduced it in the total demand in some other, or supply to some other from some other factory, because the total must be again equal to 300. It should not change. So I'm just repeating. So I'll just undo some of these things I've done. So starting over, we had these allocations. Suppose I want to add 50 units here. Plus 50 is what I want here. I need to reduce 50 from elsewhere. So we already have 300. So I need to reduce 50 here, which will make it 250. Because I need to maintain the total demand for the market. It should not be more than 300. Coming here, the supply from factory 1 should also not go beyond 250. So already I've added 50 in that row. So I'm reducing it here is equal to 90. Because we added 50 here, we are reducing it in somewhere else in the row and somewhere else in the column. Now that we have reduced it, this is a block, and there is a reduction in these two places, which is offset here, but we should also offset in this row and column. Because once I reduce 50, 90 and 40 is only 130, but the demand here is 180. If you check your previous slides, it's 180. So I need to add 50 here. So what have we done? This is a loop. So plus 50, minus 50, plus 50, minus 50. I'll draw and show you the loop. Wow. So we added here, we subtracted here, we added here, we subtracted here. So add, subtract, add, subtract. That's what we have done. So this is a loop with 4 corners. We formed a loop. In one of the corners we added, diagonally opposite corner we add, and then similarly on the other 2 edges we are subtracting. So these are not required in this problem because we don't have a need. We don't have a need because our optimality test showed that there is no opportunity because all the values are positive. So instead of just trying to remember as positive, negative, remember that your ideal cost must be more than actual cost, or actual cost must be less than ideal cost. Then there is some opportunity. If it is equal to, if both costs are equal, what if actual costs and ideal costs are equal, then there are alternative solutions possible in this problem. That's what we understand. So initial solution, test for feasibility. If there is a degeneracy, include that E or a meager quantity in one of the unallocated cells with least cost. After doing that, come to optimality test, find the values of U's and V's using allocated cells, and then apply that in the unallocated cells, find out ideal cost or Zij, compare it with actual costs to find out whether there is any opportunity. So with this, and if there is a need, we have to perform loop, which I'm not discussing. I just showed you how to do it. So I'm just reversing everything and going back to the original solution. This is our final solution. I'll show it in. So our final solution was 3,820 rupees. That's the total cost. So this is our final solution. Thank you.